Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body holistic life approach.
So we're going to be talking about genetic component and how it actually influences GLP-1 production and whether you're taking medication or will it boost in your body. And I previously touched on this, saying that some individuals are actually deficient in GLP-1 production, and that is actually cause of variability in their body and with obesity in their genetics, and that makeup can be a cause of some need for actually medications or a disconnect with why you have more metabolic health issues. That does not mean that it's the only thing. That does not mean that because you have this genetic makeup that you cannot fix or make changes to your health. So the variability depends upon each individual's makeup. Usually it has there's more studies that have shown the which genetic SNPs that are causing metabolic regulation or trouble with drug metabolizing, even the meds themselves. And when you find out what these are, it helps kind of give you more personalized medicine, and they call it genetic typing. So you'll know what will work and what won't work for you. So that's kind of and there's many studies on genotyping and variants for each individual. So let's kind of first talk about what the gene SNPs are that are related to metabolic health in reference to GLP-1 response. So it will be called, there's the gene, then there's the variant SNP, SNP, SNP. So there's the five that I'm going to talk about briefly, and I'm not even going into great detail. I'm just going brief. So is there GLP-1R, which the variant is RS6923761. It enhances insulin response in the GLP-1. Gene TCF7L2, SNP RS790346. That reduces your insulin secretion and GLP-1. So imagine any of these genetic markers, and having this would actually cause you to have some dysregulation in your metabolic health or response. GIPR gene modifies incretin effect. KCNQ1 influences the beta cell response. That's in the insulin for your pancreas. DPP4 affects the GLP-1 breakdown. So when you're looking at that, you go, wow, how does that even going to be a problem? But it will, because the idea of the GLP-1s, as we've stated numerous times, is that you're regulating your blood sugar, you're controlling your appetite and feeling full, you're trying to slow your digestion, enhancing insulin secretion. Understanding what that does for you, sometimes these individuals may need medication or may need more interventions that we've spoken about: exercise, metabolic health issues, resistance meditations, and foods, more so than other individuals. So these genetic variations give you an idea of what the body's doing, but it also gives you an idea of how we can respond to it. So going back to GLP-1R variation, this alters the body strongly when you're taking the medications of semaglutide and GLP-1 medications. Due to that, these individuals might not get much benefit and need a higher dose, or they need a combination medication with excellent all the other options that we've spoken previously about boosting your GLP-1 naturally. So that needs to be understood for each individual. So when they have that variant, these medications may not even be as effective. They have minimal benefit. It's a small percentage of patients like this, but that doesn't mean that they can't benefit from things. They just need more extracurricular, like exercise, metabolic work, food, nutrition. That is paramount. That's going to be needed. Now, another gene variation that is related to insulin secretion. So how much insulin the pancreas is TCF7L2. So that is impairing the secretion. So that actually will let you know if there's too much glucose in the body. So then you'll actually have someone have more insulin resistance. So they're more prone to insulin resistance, which means they'll have more glucose, which means they're not able to manage it. And they're also prone to other metabolic health issues. Does that mean no, they're not going to be able to take things? No, it just means that they're just more prone. Another variation, gut hormone regulation, is GIP and DDP4. Now, GIP is actually in the second medication with GLP-1 and GIP for tirzepatide Mounjaro. And the difference with this one is that it degrades the GLP-1. So some people, it may not be as stable for them. They may need higher dosing. And then that's why it's so important that the medications are tools. They're not the full equation until you understand how you can use these other areas that I've lined out in the lessons. You need to understand that your gene is not going to just dictate everything about you. You can still make changes and produce GLP-1 and help with your overall metabolic health. You can do genetic testing to find this out if you are having some trouble. And then also there is a not reference to GLP-1, but one called GDF in reference to like some individuals have a hyperemesis or they're nausea. So sometimes because this medication has caused nausea, or sometimes if you have an uptick of GLP-1, you will get a little nauseous. So those individuals with that SNP can also not benefit with these meds or need more of a natural approach because they find themselves to be a little bit more nauseous and they need to have that suppressed slightly or modified in their, like, whether it's with ginger or teas and more hydration. Now, always lifestyle is going to take paramount over just the genetics. The genetics are just the one part. They're not the full equation. It's lifestyle will influence your GLP production. So what foods you put into your body, protein, fiber, healthy fats, meals, and the frequency, like we've talked about, the fiber and the intake, soluble, like oats, beans, and berries to stabilize your blood sugar, physical activity, the exercise, the duration, the grip, your strength and your the muscle mass, like we spoke about, is the strength training and lean muscles so that you can have resistance training so that one, it will help improve your insulin sensitivity. Two, for skeletal mass increase, skeletal muscle increase, and longevity, and overall improving longevity for metabolic health and for your body. Sleep and stress, numerous times discussing that. Poor sleep will disrupt the GLP production and alter your hunger hormones. Stress management will elevate your cortisol and blunt the GLP-1. Mindfulness practices will help alleviate that and support GLP response within the body naturally. Environmental factors, I haven't fully talked about this, but this is important to note that, anything in your external environment will affect GLP-1 in many parts of the body, not just we're talking about that at this moment, but the bacteria in the gut is profoundly impacted by what environmental things and toxins are around you. Probiotics are beneficial, and disrupting that microbiome can cause inflammation, illness, and more problems with that. So exposure to these obesitogens or obesogens are like PFTs, BPAs, pesticides, heavy metals. They're endocrine disruptors. So endocrine ruining your metabolic health and will, of course, signal some problems with GLP-1. So that is also, they're called obesogens. So they are still part of that genetic component. And then where you live, your social economic, your urban areas, or social where things are in your life and how things may impact, what can you do? Don't let that be a deterrent. Try to see if there's ways you can find cheap ways to walk around. Food that doesn't always have to be organic, but can you, get more whole foods that instead of like the cakes and the, the candies and junk, what is that for you? And is that able to be customized? And then, tailoring that for you. So we'll go more into that at another time, but we'll discuss further. So talk with you soon. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not the substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcast or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.